On the 5th of March 1940, the Soviet leadership decided to murder a large number of Polish prisoners they had in their hands. They were not only Polish military and police officers, but also business people, lawyers and other professional people, community leaders, and many more. These people were murdered in various locations in April 1940, but the name given to this murder operation was the Katyn massacre, named after the place where the first mass graves were found near Smolensk. The total number of people killed is not known, but it is generally placed to be around 22,000. One location where the Polish people slated for murder by the Kremlin were held was in Starobielsk or Starobilsk in Ukrainian. Here a camp was set up in the former convent. A plaque on the outside wall of the convent states that more than 4,000 Polish prisoners were confined here, and 3,820 of them, including 8 generals, were murdered in 1940 in the Kharkiv NKVD building and later buried in the Pyatykhatky forest. Many years later, this mass grave was found by children playing with dozens of Polish army buttons. Following the collapse of the Soviet Union, an independent Ukraine created a memorial to this location to remember those Polish officers who had been murdered by the Stalinist regime. In the early years after the collapse of communism, memorials appeared all over Russia to the hundreds of thousands of victims of the Stalinist system. However, as Putin's fascist regime increased its stranglehold, history began to be falsified, and denial of these crimes became state policy. Russian organizations like Memorial, which sought to investigate Stalinist crimes, came under severe pressure, which resulted in its activists being imprisoned on trumped-up charges and it being banned. It is as though the purges and massive crimes by the Stalinists against the people of Russia and the countries occupied by the Soviet Union never happened. In some places, the memorials to the murdered have been destroyed. This is the memorial cemetery in Kharkiv Pyatykhatky today. An attempt was made to destroy it by aerial bombardment on the 23rd of March 2022 and 20th of April 2022. We can see in the photographs the cluster bomb holders, which itself is a banned weapon. There were no military targets nearby, so either this was the result of very bad aiming or a deliberate attempt to wipe out a memorial to a crime committed by what Putin would consider to be a regime he idolized, as he earlier did in the attempt to destroy the memorial at Baba Yar, a crime committed by the Nazis. Of course, one may argue that this is all just a coincidence. One could argue that there was no attempt to destroy the memorials in the past, in the case of the murdered Polish citizens killed at Kharkiv or the murdered Jews from Kiev. It was just a case of bad shooting. However, one could also argue that given the destruction of memorials to Stalinist crimes, then that this is just part of a general plan to pervert history for the sake of glorifying a present evil fascist regime. So, what do you think? Do you think that this is just a coincidence, and they're just trying to destroy the culture and the history of Ukraine and countries occupied by the Soviet Union? Or is it a plan? Write down your comments below.